Hi.
Hello.
Why did I put my headphones on? You finished your sentence, and then there was no follow-up, and I felt like one of those times when you walk into a room and you're pretty certain everyone was just talking about you.
Yeah, we definitely were talking about how great you are.
Yes.
Good.
I was going to say the same thing. It's like,
you're
Sam...
you're a really great dad, and you're so handsome.
I'm so glad you're my dad.
Yeah. I'm glad I'm your dad, too. Welcome to RPG Book Club, the podcast where we play a little bit of a video game and talk about how it makes us feel. I am Sam Allman.
I'm Elias Sailor Eli Warren.
And I am Guiji to Guoji.
Why?
I'm Maddie. Look, to paraphrase Speed Racer, saying awful things that makes other people sad is the only thing I know how to do, and I gotta do something.
And today we'll be playing part 2 of Homestuck, because Homestuck 2 came out, and that's all I can think about.
All right, cool. Well,
yes.
I'm out. I'm going to go play Final Fantasy. All right,
No, I'm
see
not
ya.
even caught up with Homestuck, so I can't even start Homestuck 2 yet. Also, the whole concept weirded me out, but we'll see if it's good, and of course I have to read it regardless.
Yeah, it's real good, and, like, darn good, and it's kind of... So, like... Everyone says that it's pretentious for pretentiousness' sake, and those people I don't think have read the hardcover books that have all of Hussy's stuff, because Hussy's pretentious for pretentiousness' sake, and all the things that like Aisha and stuff are saying are things that Hussy was trying to do from the jump. So it feels really good, and I really, really like it. And the first like main joke in it, like not quip, the first like deliverable joke on it is the best joke in Homestuck, and it's a brilliant way to start it off, and I love it. So,
hell yeah, love to hear it.
Anywho, that was my week. We're actually playing part 6 of Lost Odyssey up until we entered the new Kingdom of Ura after the Cold War, but
Cold War.
I was going to say, is that actually what it's called? Or
no.
Okay.
No, it's an allegory for the United States-Russia Cold War, except the United States then decides to send ice nukes on Russia. So,
and Russia's like, ice? Bitch, what's that gonna do?
Right.
Yeah.
It's Russia.
They just like pull their scarf a little bit tighter.
Yeah.
They're like, no, they just one looks to the other and they say, oh, Masha, it's going to be long winter.
Very long winter.
But, yeah, what about you guys this week? Since y'all weren't doing Homestuck 2, there must have been something else happening.
More Final Fantasy forever. I don't know what's happened. I've become super addicted. Well, no, I know partially what's happened. One of my friends has been making... Okay, so the crafting in Final Fantasy XIV is interesting. You level them as though they were their own, like, classes. So they're on the same level, kind of, as a combat class.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I always have wanted that out of an MMO, because it's like, crafting always seems like a thing you do when you're trying to get rest experience and you're bored.
Yes, except you use rest experience when you're crafting.
Yeah.
It is a bit of a chore because there's a million different materials. They are going to be revamping it when they do the patch tomorrow.
Nice.
Tonight, technically. So I don't know what all that entails, but anyway, there's also these special quests called leaves, and they're basically repeatable quests. You can do up to 99 before you run out, and then have to wait for more allowances. So there's some for crafting and some for gathering and for the combat classes to make leveling up a little bit easier in certain areas, certain aspects. So one of my friends has been making me leave kits for crafting to get me from level 60 to 70 in all my crafting skills. And that has actually helped, like, reinvigorate my love for crafting because it can be such a slog to level up. And then, like, once you get to level 71 in a crafting skill, you get an ability that just makes everything insanely easy.
Nice.
Yeah. So I've been having a lot of fun with that. And I've been RPing, which feels great. I haven't really done a whole lot of RP in a while.
Speaking of RPing, did you take part in the Halloween cosplay contest or just tradition in Final Fantasy XIV? Where you try to dress up your characters like a real world Halloween costume?
No, I haven't done that.
Okay. I saw a couple trending on Twitter. Like I saw Peter Pan and Wendy.
Oh yeah.
Cosplay and stuff. It was cute.
No, I just put him in his fancy weaver outfit and then went around like he was some kind of nobleman.
I love it.
Yeah, we did go to a haunted mansion last night, which was really cool. Someone has a big mansion on Balmung, and they set it up like a maze, and then they've got like all different kind of decorations set up in ways that make it look really spooky. Like,
nice.
There was one room with there was a painting of the Sultana from Ul'dah, so she's a Lalafell, which are the little tiny people. And they put it on top of another painting of her that had another person in the painting. So the paintings there's Z-fighting going on. If you don't know what Z-fighting is, that's a game term that means, like, there's two objects on top of each other, and they're essentially fighting for dominance. Yeah.
Yes.
But it creates an effect like the painting is shifting constantly.
Nice.
And it was super cool. And then they had like a really neat lighting effect with like a little guy waving its arms around, but it was just like the shadow of it. And so yeah, it was really, really well done.
That's really cool. I love when people get creative and shit like that, especially when like they get creative in a game like that that's not like a Minecraft or a Second Life or something that's like designed to do that.
Yeah.
It's like, that's why like back in the day, all of the WoW machinimas I loved a whole lot, because like nothing in WoW should let you make a machinima. Like it's just like nowhere close to being plausible, and yet people did it anyways, and that shit's really cool.
Yeah, for sure. So
what about you, Maddie?
What year is it? Where am I? Who am I? Why did the person who opened the door to that house, why was that not Sarah Palmer? Why did the lights flicker on and off? I don't fucking know. It's Monday. I'm awake. Clear eyes, full hearts. Can't lose.
Nice. One other thing I did this week, not related to Homestuck, was so I was playing Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth Hacker's Memory on my Vita, and I had a botched install, but it's the most stable botched install I've ever seen in my entire life. The only thing that was messed up was the character model for Sistermon CL would not load. So it's like I look in my Digivolution guide, it would just be a white square, and then if I digivolve to it, my Digimon would just be invisible. And so I was just like, oh well, I don't even care about that Digimon, so I just won't use it. Digivolved into something else and went on my merry way. But then I got into a story fight with a Sistermon, and things got weird because like there'd be a cutscene, and it would like the camera would like look over to talk to Sistermon, and there would be fucking nobody there. and then
spooky.
it even
very
and so
spooky.
there's two Sistermon. There's CL and Blanc. CL is blue, Blanc is pink, but it's supposed to be black and white. It was noir in Japan, but Sistermon is a nun, and so a black suited nun was on the nose, and they didn't want to make Christians mad over here, so they changed the color. It was this big controversy thing back in the day, but so they fight together, and they have this like cute Charlie's Angels Sailor Moon power up extravaganza before they start the fight, and Sister Monsiel was just invisible for it. So you have like Sister Mont Blanc like high-fiving the air and like leaning up against the air and like hugging the air, and it was fucking ridiculous looking. And then the fight proper starts, and I go and I move my my cursor on who I want to fight, and it just like shows on the ground a nothingness is where I'm supposed to fight Sister Monsiel, and I'm like, this is so funny, ha ha ha. And I go to attack it, and everything's working fine. And then she tries to use her special move, and it crashed my Vita and crashed the game, and I had to redo the last like 3 hours. But I was like, well, this sucks. I thought it was a bug, not a botched install. But I was like, let me just try to reinstall it and see if that helps, and it did. Thank God.
Are you sure it's a botched install and not Ben drowned?
Well, if it is, I just erased that whole disk and started over, so
well,
we're good.
Ben's dead. Gone forever.
Yeah.
More dead than usual.
Yeah.
Yes.
Extra dead.
Double plus ghost dead.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was hilarious until it wasn't. But, yeah, that's all I got. So let's get back to talking about Lost Odyssey on that Microsoft Xbox 360 video game console.
Hell yeah.
Was there... So I know we had music from the Ice Cave this week, but I didn't like that music very much.
Really? Oh, I thought it was great.
It's not bad. It's just not interesting to put as an interstitial in a podcast.
Was there any new music? Is that what you were asking?
Yeah.
There was. Some of the cutscenes had some new shit, but I don't really remember where. You can take a look for it later.
Yeah, we'll listen to something, and then we'll start talking about our plot. So, where we last left our party was in Disc 2, and they escaped the experimental staff, and Mary Tyler Moore jumped onto a boat and rode off into the sunset, and then there was a big ol' explosion of lightning and explodey shit, and we made it safe back to Saman, and that's where we are now. So, we roll up to Saman, and everything looks fine and okay in the boat. Like, it looks like there's no problem at all. Everyone looks like they're having a happy time. And then we get off of the boat, and it immediately sinks.
Yep. The boat like bumps into the dock, and then it's like, well, it's like, all right, I'm gonna head out.
I didn't even see any damage to it, any reason why it should sink, besides plot, because we need to go through a dungeon to get to Ghotza instead of driving like we had originally planned. So that's it. That's the reason. But Our boat sinks immediately, and we're like, well, I guess we'll have to walk the long way around. And then the people there are like, well, conveniently, that lightning from last night struck the ice cave, so you can go through the ice cave now. And so we're like, okay, cool, but let's spend the night here first. So we then get to come back and do a bunch more side quests in Saman because nobody's creepy anymore. And
the town's normal now. It's like a nice little Eastern European village.
Yeah, it was really cool. It's still not the bustling metropolis that they said it used to be, but it's good, so that's fine. And I got I did one side quest that I really liked. So last time when we were here, everything was spooky, and there was this like rich guy just like teeter-tottering, staring and singing nursery rhymes to himself while staring at a big pile of gold. And so we looted his house and found a ledger that he had sitting around while he was distracted by his creepy pile of gold. So now we go in there and we're like, hey, what happened to all the gold? And he's like, what are you talking about? I'm a legitimate businessman. All my gold is in the bank. I don't have any sort of hidden funds or anything. And we're like, okay, whatever.
Sure.
So we leave, and the town guards are like, hey, so did he do anything suspicious? Because we've been investigating him for laundering money for a while. And we're like, do you want this book? And they're like, hell yeah. And so they go and they arrested him. And I really liked that, using both sides of Saman for the side quest thing.
Yeah,
really
and like, I guess if you didn't do the first half of it earlier, you wouldn't be able to complete the quest now, I guess.
Or maybe there's a different scene of you
a different
getting
path you could take. I don't know. It was cool as shit.
Yeah, I really liked it. But yeah, the cars are all dead, and that makes me sad. We saved the world, but we killed all the car people. So is it worth it?
I thought that was going to be a joke where, like, the car people are now, like, regular people, and they're like, I was turned into a car, you know? But no, the cars just were given souls, apparently, and now don't have them anymore. Yeah.
That's
or
very
this
weird.
is an animism thing, and the cars still have souls, they just can't talk now.
Maybe so. I hope so, because they were my friends.
I have no freaky car's mouth, and I must cars scream.
I had no idea that there were car people.
Yeah, so it was one of my memorable moments last week, but I think you were busy
Just NPCs.
writing. I think you were writing the
was...
Jansen report.
Yeah. Don't worry, I have the Jansen report pre-written today.
Good. Nice. But yeah, so it was just a joke in Old Saman where you would go and it would pop up to examine a car, and you would think like, oh, sweet, here's an item, let me like open the hood or something. But you go to do it, and the cars talk to you, and are just like, man, this town is really creepy. I wish I was born a boat, and other shit like that. And they were all cute, and now they're all dead.
Well,
Yep.
rip in pepperoni.
Yep. So you make your way to the inn, and the kids go to sleep. So the adults all talk about what they're going to do, and Jansen is like, "So, what's up with him calling you traitors?" And they're like, "Well, Kangor's trying to take over the world right now, so we think he's full of shit, but we also don't remember, so we can't be sure." So let's try and go continue on our way to Ghotza and keep with the original plan. See if we can get them together to stop a war from happening. And they're like,
Kaim dramatically is like, if there's something I've done that was awful, then I will atone for my sins. And I'm like, Kaim, you're a sweetheart. You're fucking fine. I promise. You don't need to worry about it.
Yeah.
They also do mention that when they came to this world, they did not walk through a portal. Their minds came through to this world, and they acquired bodies on this end, which is cool and weird, and I don't know what it means.
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
I don't think that ends up mattering. I think that's just a weird way of expressing it, but maybe. Yeah. Oh, wait, no, okay, yeah, I think it's like they came from a higher plane of existence where they don't have physical bodies. You know, they came from like some sort of Gnostic soul. I don't think it's like, oh, we possessed a regular person's body.
Yeah, the way she said it didn't sound...
forgetting, but I don't think there's anything weird like that.
Yeah, the way she said it didn't sound like possessing. It sounded like creating from scratch or something like that.
They had a little character creator, and for the first 2 years of their 1,000-year mission, they were like, "Oh my god, come on!" They were like, "Come on, Sarah, we gotta go." And she was like, "Hold on, I haven't gotten my character just right yet." And then they started their 1,000-year journey, and she's like, "Oh, now that I'm actually in it, it looks different. Never mind, hold on, we gotta go back."
I gotta delete and remake my character.
It didn't import my character from the last 1,000 years.
But then like when they first get there, they have like a really long cutscene they have to sit through before they can create their characters. So they had to watch that like 15 times.
Oh yeah.
Also, both of the female characters turned their boob slider all the way up, which makes me think that they're probably being played by men.
It's true.
But think of it, considering Kaim looks like Keanu Reeves, he's probably being played by a woman. Because
I was going to say that Kaim is really pretty, so that's probably a woman playing him.
Yeah, Kaim and Jansen are definitely both like very female gaze. They're pretty boys.
Speaking of Ming's boob slider, there's one of my memorable moments has to deal with Ming's boob slider later.
Nice.
But, yeah, so I think that's all of the plot we get from there in the inn. It then does a weird thing where it lets you control it while everyone's around the room, but no one around the room has anything to say. You talk to them and they're just like, yeah, cool.
Yeah,
You know,
they all have one line of dialogue, and then it's like, do you want to be done? And you're like, yes.
Like, what else would I do? It was weird, but it's just residual Legend of Dragoon still just poking its head out. It's making me really love this game. It feels so
exactly what it was.
homey.
It was a Legend of Dragoon thing, but instead of being a big thing, it was like 5 seconds.
Yeah. You know how much this game would rule if, when we got the boat, instead of it just being a world map, it was the fucking Queen Fury, just like hang out with all of your party now that the gang's back together, just like 30-minute set piece of feelings.
That would be pretty tight.
This game could float it. Very few games, like as much as I love that, very few games I think could actually float it. I think Rogue Galaxy
boat.
I think Rogue Galaxy could have. The characters were the best part, and not getting to talk to those characters was the worst part. I don't think Dragon Quest V would have worked like that at all. Like,
well, you don't think you would have wanted the hero to have a deep emotional conversation with Slime Knight, with Goonie, or with Pack Rat or whatever.
I was mostly thinking about Sancho, Bianca, and the kids, but yeah, what you said works too.
I love you, Saber. You're the only one who understands me.
Right. And then you get a control Saber as you're exploring the bottom reaches of the ship, and you have a special Saber and Sancho scene. But anywho, so we go to rest for the night before we head out to the Ice Canyon, which is a really cool dungeon. It does this thing where it does a thing that Zelda dungeons do a lot, and I love it when Zelda dungeons do it, where you start the dungeon and you can see your goal right there.
Yeah.
I mean, you see it on the map here, and it's small in the distance just because of camera placement, but it's right there next to you. But the way you get to it is you have to go up and down levels and slide and pass by wind and get knocked off by certain wind and other things. And
the angle is the camera angle is tilted just right so that you're kind of running into the Z-axis, but also it's sideways. It's it's halfway between being left to right and then being Z-axis Crash Bandicoot. So yeah, you could see your goal in sort of the bottom left of the screen, the very end, and barely, but then you still have lateral motion and stuff. And yeah, it's a cool dungeon. As I mentioned earlier, I thought the music was one of the best tracks on the OST, but it is also ambient nonsense.
Yeah, it was good ambient nonsense, and it felt good that we had it, because when you go back to Saman, the new Saman happy track doesn't start until you go to the end to leave. So the whole time I was doing side quests in Saman, it was silent, and then the next couple of dungeons are silent, and I'm just getting a little weirded out by all the silence. And so this one having music and it being so good was a good thing.
Did you interact with the dungeon's weird gimmick much?
With the monkeys?
Fucking monkeys.
Yeah, I was just about to bring it up. So
okay, cool.
So there's mobs in this dungeon that steal from you. But unlike a Final Fantasy thief mob that steals gold or some potions or something that you don't really care, and then in Final Fantasy you also can kill them before the battle is over so you don't lose the items. These monkeys steal your worn accessory or weapon and then just fucking book it immediately that turn. You can't do anything to stop them. And I was like, this is total bullshit. And so you make your way through the whole dungeon, and you fight the boss at the end. It's this big dinosaur. There's a little cutscene on it. We'll get to it in a second. But you fight the dinosaur, and then behind where the dinosaur was, you find a chest that has a Elmon crown in it. The monkeys are called Elmons. You find a crown in it. So then if you go back and the monkeys they'll come to steal from you, but this time they'll steal that crown instead of what you're wearing. So then you go all the way back to the beginning of the dungeon, and there's a side room that was blocked when you first got in there. There's now monkeys standing in front of it. So you go and talk to those monkeys, and they're like, hey, we have all of your stuff, but it's because you were stealing the crown from us. And we're like, we didn't do jack shit. Let's fight. And so then you fight them, and when you beat them, you get all of your stuff back. And if they stole the crown from you, you also get a cool-ass accessory while you're at it.
Fun fact, the thing you said about the path being blocked, no, that's bullshit. It's not blocked. You just didn't find it.
Okay.
You can go kill the monkey's ass at any time.
Cool. I just suck.
Yeah. No, it's fine. Yeah, no, so because I was really annoyed, right? So like,
yeah, I looked it up because
after 2 or 3 accessories stolen, because I'd already found the monkeys earlier, but they didn't do anything. They were just like, we want the crown, and I was like, cool. And then later, after they kept stealing from me, I was like, okay, fuck those monkeys. So I ran back, and they were like, what? And I was like, what? And they were like, what? And then I kicked their ass. I got my shit back. And after you kick their ass and get your shit back, they don't show up at all anymore. They don't show up in battles, and they don't steal your stuff.
Yeah, it's really
Nice.
cool.
And then I proceeded, like you were saying, with the rest of the dungeon.
Yeah, but I looked it up because like I didn't even notice or really care the first time I made it through the dungeon because they stole like an anti-paralysis band or something I could just replace in 2 seconds, so I wasn't really worried. But then when I was going back to grind for a side quest that's coming up here in Ghotza to get some extra gold, I excuse me, I had my level 5 black-white magic item stolen, which is not one that I want them to steal. And I was like, well, if they disappear and I can't kill them before the battle is over, how do I get my shit? And so I looked it up, and they're like, hey, this was a whole dungeon side quest to go and do, because I was muy upsetto because that was a really valuable accessory that they stole. It also made me really shitty for the rest of that dungeon until I went to get it, because I was cheating with her and just gave her that one because she doesn't have enough skill slots to equip a level 5 black magic. But anywho, so at the end of this ice glacier, we fight a boss called Dinosario. He's a dinosaur, you can tell, because his name is Dinosaurio.
But Dinosaurio is a dumb boss. He just hits you, and you hit him, and that's all that happens. And he's really easy.
Yeah, the only cool part is the cutscene that goes with it, because Mac, being a 6-year-old boy, walks into this glacier and sees this giant frozen dinosaur, and he's like, this is fucking kick-ass. And he goes up to, like, look at it closely, and it wakes up, and they're like, move out of the way, it's moving. And he's just like, you're just trying to trick me and scare me. And they're like, no, literally, it's a boss battle. And then they had a boss battle.
It's like, Mac, dude, you're in a Japanese role-playing game. It's a boss battle. Did you not hear the foreshadowing?
Yeah, so we then leave and go and start our next cutscene that lasts us till the end of the of the disc, pretty much. But it's good. And we make our way to the magic industry city of Ghotza, which has some JRPG architecture that like doesn't fucking make sense. You don't actually walk around any of it. The stuff you walk around is just like a industrial Midgar type of place. But you see in the distance that Noble Town is at a 45-degree angle, like its ground is at a 45-degree angle. All of the towers point in the other 45-degree.
It doesn't make any sense at all. It's like Kingdom Heartsy. It's got this weird, janky Tim Burton Kingdom Hearts goofy ass vibe to it. But it's also Midgar.
Yeah,
because it's got an uptown and a low town.
Yeah, it's weird. I love it.
It's also Terrace.
Yeah, but when you get to Nobletown, it doesn't even bring up like the world building on. Oh, we have like a magic energy engine that gives us artificial gravity here, so we decided to build everything at an angle or anything. You just walk through a gate and suddenly you're in Nobletown and things aren't crooked. but it's a dumb city, and I love it so much. But yeah, there's an uptown, a middle town, and a low town, and everyone's racist against low town people. There's also a bunch of Kent people that are here, and you get to see a lot of dogs. And
yeah, so we never saw these guys before.
Dogs.
It turns out that the people from the opening cutscene that were fighting with the Urans, the people in all the armor that we couldn't see behind their armor, I think we may have joked about how what's behind the armor, they're so weird looking. Yeah, they were all dog people.
Yeah, I figured they were because they referred to him as Beastmen in the first NPC dump that you get, and the werewolf ones you were fighting for the tutorial battles looked like werewolves, and I'm like, oh, maybe that wasn't they were werewolves. Maybe that was just zombie dogs.
Oh, yeah, also, did you actually see that you can go to Kent at this point?
I did, and I know there was a side quest for it, but I missed it before I burned this fucker to the ground.
Well, I will say, it's very minor. You, on the world map, instead of going to Ghotza, you can go to Kent, which I earlier joked and called it the nation of not appearing in this game, but I was wrong. You can go to Kent. There's nothing to do there. They have a big old gate, and they don't let you in. So you can just be outside the gate and talk to, like, you can get like 2 treasure chests. Oh, right. Yeah, you should have gone there. There's another skill slot +3 accessory there.
Ah, damn. Hopefully I can still go as soon as I get a world map, but I don't know if we'll get a world map before the end of this disc.
Yeah,
things have not stopped from keep happening.
No, they don't for a while. Yeah, so there might be a side quest. I don't know. Yeah, you said there's a side quest in Ghotza. That's funny. I didn't find any of those before everything blew up. Also, brief shout out.
There's like 100 missable side quests here.
That's weird. I talked to like every NPC, but I didn't get anything that one might call a side quest. Anyway, also just quick shout out to the this isn't a normal moment. It's actually kind of an important gameplay thing. Shout out to the auction house.
Oh, I missed it. I forgot to look for it.
It's in Saman, I think.
Okay, as long as it's not in Ghotza.
Yeah,
if
Saman
it's in Saman,
now
I can
has
go
an
back.
auction house where they auction off missable items from previously in the game.
Oh, that's really helpful.
Which is
That's really
which
good.
is a great gameplay idea.
Yeah.
Like
The only other game I know of that does that besides WoW, because that's what the black market auction house is for. But Wind Waker does that, which is really
nice.
cool.
They didn't explicitly say that, but like they were just like, our explorers found. They're like, we found this item in the Wool Highlands, and it's like a seed. And I'm like,
Nice.
okay, yeah, that's clearly a seed that I should have gotten while I was in the Wool Highlands.
That's really cool.
I was surprised when I did that at how few there were. I actually had missed very few items, and most of them were like megalixirs.
Nice. That's really cool.
Yeah. Anyway, let's go on to Ghotza.
So the spoiler-free guide here was like, there's a whole bunch of side quests. Don't turn left when you enter the town, because then you'll lock yourself out of all of them, and you'll start a thing that doesn't ever stop. So I then went and did a lot of exploring, and one side quest that I loved, because it's lucrative as shit, is you find a gambler up in this casino that's run out of an abandoned apartment. And you give him 1,000 gold, and he's like, thank you. And then everyone there is like, you're stupid. This guy's a horrible gambler. He's never going to win that back. So you leave and come back and do that 10 whole times, and then he wins big, and he pays you back with interest and gives you 5 times the total amount that you gave him. So if you spend 10K on him, you end up making 40K, which is then great for the other. It's not a side quest, but this is the first time you can talk to the level 2 ring smushy together. I forget what his actual name is, but so you go to him and you buy like it's something like 30 of each material, is which you'll end up needing to make a level 2 ring of all of the elements, and then a level 2 ring of the critical ring, and a level 2 ring of the damage up ring. Take him to the ring smusher, and he'll give you a ring that has, say, level 2 fire, level 2 critical, and level 2 damage up. And I did that with my newly acquired 40,000 gold. I did that for all 3 of my physical attackers, and it was good. It was
Hell
great.
yeah.
That I like here in a second when you have the it's not a boss battle, but it feels like one because it's a mob rush where you get like all those beasts over and over before you can heal. I was one-shotting him with Kayam with his earth ring, which was spectacular. But there were a couple other small ones, mostly just got like some gold here and there.
I totally gave some money to that guy, and then I forgot about him, so I guess he just got my money.
Yeah. But yeah, so you eventually go to the station and you try to get on board a train, and they're like, you have to have an ID to do anything in this town. Also, if you do a lot of exploring, you find a bunch of places that say that. Like, you find this whole like shopping center up in Lowtown, and you go in there, and they're like, oh yeah, we don't sell to people that don't have ID, and you find that in a lot of different places. So when you get to the station, everyone's like, well, I guess we literally can't do anything because we don't have any ID. So then you go to explore some more, and if you go up towards Nobletown, this dude in a cloak like shoulders into Kayam and drops a coin, and Kayam picks it up and is like, oh shit, I gotta go see a guy about a dog, so I'll see you guys later. And Sarah's like, oh, me too, because I obviously know what this coin is. And everybody else is like, yeah, whatever, see ya. And then the group is split up, and Cook and Mac are like, this train looks cool as shit, can we go and see it? And they're like, cool, but don't steal the train. And I was like, that's a Chekhov's warning. They're going to steal that train.
It turns out that just like the boat in Numara, just nobody locks any vehicles in this game's world.
Nope, you don't have to.
There's a boat, there's a car, there's a train. You just let people walk on and steal them. There's no security.
Yep, it's great. So, so the kids run off, and Kayam and Sarah run off, and so we get to control Seth and Ming and Jansen, and we go up to Nobletown, and this time can make our way through. The guards are like, you can't come in. She's like, I'm the queen. Here's my shiny glowing birthmark. And they're like, oh, well, obviously you are the queen. So they let her inside. So then we make our way in front of the king, and he's like way on the other end, like opening of Kingdom Hearts Mickey's throne room ass, where you're like, I can't even tell if the king is here or not, like way far away in the throne room.
Have you all seen the film Hero with Jet Li?
Nope.
Long time ago.
Oh, well, that's kind of what this reminded me of a whole lot. Yeah, you have to pass through these gates to get closer and closer and closer.
And they're annoying gameplay-wise because, like, you're designed to fail it once, but it feels like you did something wrong when you just have to fail it once and then you make it through. So I felt like, all right, well, what can I do differently? And I tried it again, and I got it. I'm like, oh, I think it's supposed to, because like the second time, Ming is like, stop being a cheeky asshole, king, and let us come through. So it's like him fucking with it, but it was weird. So we make our way up to...
yeah, I was going to say that makes sense because of the cutscene coming up.
Yeah. So we make our way up to the king, and he's like, what the shit? How'd you get through all the barriers? This was supposed to be impenetrable. And we get up, and it's just some dude. It's not the king. It's just some dude wearing the king's clothes. And we're like, who the fuck are you? And then it cuts. And now
also they're like, hey, how come you were messing with us and bullshitting us? I thought this was No Bull Town.
Stop it. So then we cut over to Kayam and Sarah in Lowtown, and we go back to the top of the apartment building.
We go to the conspicuously empty room that we went to earlier when we were exploring. And thought, why doesn't this room have anything in it at all, but it looks fancy? Maybe there's an important cutscene here later.
Yep. And so you go in there, and the guy with the hood is there, and we're like, hey, what's up? And he tosses his hood back, and it's the actual king. and his name is Mars. And Chaim and Sarah know him from way back. There's this really touching part where he talks about how he tries so hard to be a good king, and Chaim and Sarah refer to him as one of us, and he's like, even though I'm not an immortal, and she's like, you're not an immortal, but you care about this world just as much as we do, and it was really sweet.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he's like, coming up soon, I have a meeting with King Tolton, and we're going to try to avoid war. So you guys should come with me and sit in on that meeting as my advisors. And they're like, we'll do you one better. We have the fucking Queen of Numara with us. So let's go and just stop this war altogether, and everyone can just talk and conversate. And
let's go have and this is a reference that neither of y'all will get, but some of our listeners will. Let's go have a colloquium of kings, and definitely nothing bad happens when you do that.
Yeah. I was making a Tyler the Creator reference that neither of you would get. So
wait, what part?
When I said, so we can just talk and conversate.
Oh, I thought you were just being weird.
And Tyler the Creator is followed up, when I usually just stalk you and masturbate. But I didn't say that line because this is a PG podcast. We never fucking cuss on this podcast.
It's fucking PG, people.
He's also very good.
Cut the shit.
He's also very what?
He's also very good.
Yes. But, anywho, so he's like, okay, cool. But before we do all of that, you should know Gongora is an immortal too, and he's the bad one, and he's trying to take over everything. So if anything comes through that's his idea, it's a bad idea. Don't do it. You're not going to listen to me next cutscene, but look at me in my eyes and promise me if Gongora says to do something, you do the opposite thing. And he's like, I promise. I definitely won't do something else next cutscene. So then we get to control Mac and Cook for a bit. And this part was annoying because the trigger to make things go was this nondescript lady off on a platform that looks just like all the nondescript ladies in Ghotza. And since I was in a hurry, I wasn't NPC exploring. And so I was just talking to all of the conspicuous NPCs, like the guards and the merchants and the people that look like they belong in a JRPG, and nothing was working.
Wow,
so
Sam, you're getting kind of ageist.
Yeah. But, and so I eventually looked on the spoiler-free guide, and it was like, yeah, there's an old lady on platform 1 that'll talk about blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, there wasn't. And then I go in there, I'm like, oh, she's just old and off to the side, and I didn't even notice. I was distracted by the kick-ass chest that's there for Mac.
Objectively speaking, this is definitely an issue, but I'm thinking about it, and it's a little cute when you think about it in a certain way, because you're playing as kids, right? Mm-hmm. So, they're not adults. They're not RPG heroes. They're not going to be concerned with the important plot shit, or the guards, or the shops, or important things that a adult would focus on. No, they're kids. What's the thing that matters to them? The weird old lady who tells you about the train.
Yes.
They're like, oh, hell yeah, let's go talk to the old lady and learn about a train.
Yeah. So the old lady is like, oh, that train over there is really special because it drives through the purple aurora, or violet aurora. And Mac's like, what's that? And she's like, oh, it's a gate to the spirit realm. If you jump through the purple aurora, you can go and talk to dead people. And he's like, cool, let's go talk to Mom. And Cook is like, Mom's not alive. We can't do that. And he's like, then how the hell did we come back alive on the experimental staff? And Cook goes, touche, let's go. And so then they go and steal the fucking train. Just fucking take it.
Yep.
They just walk onto the train. There's a guard in front of the train. He doesn't even say, don't go in there. You just go in there.
If you talk, when you're exploring and you talk to him, he goes, don't go in there. This one's down for maintenance. If you try to walk in, he stops you. But then when the plot wants you to, you just walk in. And there's not even a sneaking little animation or cutscene or nothing. You just walk up, and it's a faded in area transition.
Maybe because they've only had the Magic Industrial Revolution for 30 years. They haven't had these fancy vehicles that long. So they're just like, no one thought of the idea that you could steal them. Like, it's like, nobody would steal a train. That's absurd. Why would you do such a thing?
That actually kind of makes sense when you think about the internet. And remember back in like our when like we were in high school and stuff, they would block game websites, but we know the internet enough to find alternative keywords to find websites that wouldn't have popped up underneath their game website filter and would still play games in keyboarding class. Because they merely adopted the internet. We were born in it, molded by it. So they're like, look, this is a fancy piece of machinery. I had to study for 10 years to understand how to operate it. Nobody can steal it. But they're like, yeah, I've lived for 10 years knowing how to operate it, so I'm just going to steal
They're like,
train.
I've watched Thomas the Tank Engine.
Yeah.
Right?
Also, it's just like, I mean, also it is a little bit depressing when you think about like just the history of like society and the governments and stuff and like commodities where it's just like, it used to be like, yeah, no, you can't own land. That's absurd.
Yeah.
And then someone's like, what if I did though? And if you go on my land, I'll shoot you. And all the peasants are like, but we go into that forest to get berries so that we don't die. And the feudal, and then the city landlord is like, yeah, that's mine now. And the reason why he was allowed to do it, I mean, this is a way oversimplification of history, but I think it's funny. It's like, no one just had thought that you could do that before, and then they thought, what if I did it? And everyone was like, fuck. They're just like, what if I stole a train? And the guard's like, shit, hadn't considered that.
I never thought that might happen. I never thought this day would come.
I fucking guarantee that in a year, like, every Ghotza train will have guards.
Yeah, because, spoiler for in a second, Chaim and Sarah also just walk onto a train and steal it with no one stopping them.
Yeah, it's so
you would think after
funny.
the first one they would be like, oh shit, because they even talk about like everything was in an uproar. If you NPC explore with Chaim and Sarah, they're like, yeah, some kid stole a train, we don't even know what's going on, and we're like, cool, we're taking this one.
There's only 3 trains and we're taking the last one.
Yeah,
and also like what was I gonna say, train. Oh, maybe they're designing the game. Honestly, I think a decent number of things in this game might have been like budget things. So in this scenario, they had this awesome thing planned where it's like you got all these political cutscenes, and then afterward you had the train and all the boss battles on the train. But then between that, they were like, oh, some kind of like little stealth mission where you steal the train. And then they got to getting towards the end of the game's development, and they're like, yeah, we're not doing the fucking stealth mission where you steal the train. Just go get the goddamn train. They're like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, it was wild. So then we cut to Jansen, Ming, and Seth, who are interrogating the imposter king. And Seth and Jansen play good cop, bad cop, and they bribe the king into the quote-unquote king into telling him where the real king is. And he mentions, head to the station because they're going to they have a meeting on the train with King Tolton. And they're like, okay, cool, that's where we'll go because we need to talk to the king. And lo and behold, that's where Chaim and Sarah are, because they were coming with the king to get on the train. So our party briefly reunites before shit hits the fan.
Also, just want to mention here again, no fucking infosec. You have what's the point of a imposter king if he's just going to tell everybody where the real king is? Shouldn't the whole point be that he's an imposter king, like, for safety reasons?
Yeah, I think similar to their lack of guards, they didn't think that anyone would be able to get past the barriers, and so they didn't train him on shut your fucking yap.
Right, they're just like
I'm
your
just
job,
safe back here.
They're like, your job is to sit on this chair behind a bunch of barriers. It's safe. You'll be fine. Nothing's ever going to happen to you. We're not going to bother giving you like torture resistance training.
Or 1 gold is all that Jansen gave him was 1 gold.
And then later Jansen was like, I got to get that back. Or he's like, I got to make that up.
Yeah, it was good. So, Where was I on that? Yeah, so our party reunites, and we're like, awesome, Ming. We were actually hoping we would run into you because we're going to go and stop a war with diplomacy, because that always works. So we want you to come with us. And we're like, awesome, that'll be great. So we get in and we sit in at the royal meeting, and
hold on, but then we find out that our kids stole a train.
Oh yeah, I did skip that part.
So then they're all freaking out, and Sarah is like, I gotta go save our kids who are on a train, and Kym is like, oh, I'm going with you. So the original plan was for Kym and Sarah to sit in on the politics, but now they're not. So Ming and Jansen and Seth are doing the politics, and Kym and Sarah are gonna go get their kids.
Yeah, and it was this cool thing where they're like, oh well, we'll just catch up to him. We're getting on the train. And they're like, yeah, but this train is headed towards Ura, and that train was headed towards Saman in opposite directions. So like, well, shit. I guess we'll have to steal a whole nother train then. And so they go and steal a train.
I love the symbolism of how they're extremely splitting the party. It's like.
Yeah.
When half of the party boards trains going opposite, high-speed trains going opposite directions, you're like,
when will they collide?
You're like, okay, this is not good. But also, that was really funny.
Yeah. I had a joke about that for one of the cutscenes.
It's amazing. It's like if Kym's train is going at this speed and the kids' train is going at this speed, and they have to fight 4 boss battles, how long does it take for the train to catch up with the other train? No. Will the train catch up to the kids' train before the giant ice nuke arrives?
Yes. Show your work.
The giant ice nuke is traveling in a parabolic arc.
Yeah. So.
Oh god, this is too much math. My head hurts.
So, during the royal meeting, Ming walks out and is like, surprise, bitch, I'm not dead. And Tolton was like, yeah, I figured. And I'm just like, yeah, you're still, like, towing the party line right now with Gongora, but I think that's going to go poorly for you. And turns out I was right. But I think you're going to be on our side soon because you already aren't surprised that Gongora lied to you. So,
yeah.
You're an accessory to murder, but you knew it wasn't really murder, so it's fine, I guess.
Yeah. So Ming then tells Tolton, hey, Gengora's an immortal. The experimental staff is how he's going to take over the world. Don't fucking do it. Whatever you do, dismantle it right now. And Tolton's like, yeah, okay, that sounds good. And then it zooms in on his eye, and we see that he has a magic contact lens as well. And it cuts over to Gongora, who's like, yeah, that's fine. Go along with what they say. In fact, give them, set up to give them the plans to make their own. And well, he doesn't say to make their own; just says give them the plans, and it cuts. We find out in a second that it's to make their own. But yeah. So now it cuts to Kym and Seth at the train station, stealing the train. We do steal the train, and we start to ride it. But for some reason, the kid stealing the train was okay, but us stealing the train summons the military might of Ghotza, even though we're there on a diplomatic mission by the king who sent this order.
You're adults. Like, I mean, it's understandable. It was
cute when the kids did it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh, a kid's stealing a train. That's adorable. What are they gonna do? They're gonna sit in there and they're gonna like honk the horn.
Or worst case scenario, they die and they're not Ghotza, so no skin off our nose.
Yeah, so whatever, fuck it.
Yeah. So when we steal a train, the army shows up and we have to do a bunch of boss battles in a row. They're all pretty easy, like pretty darn. The middle wave heals you every turn for no good reason.
Well, there actually is some cute plot stuff here. They do cute storytelling things with the battle system here. The first one is Actually, I think the first one isn't anything in particular, but the second one is they're on the other train tracks, the parallel train tracks, so they're not close to you. So Kaim can't use physical attacks, which is cool. All I can do is use magic. But also on that wave or the next wave, they're on the other train, and there's a front and back row. But weirdly enough, you can't attack the back row. Not even with GC.
It's like a extra back because they're so far away that you can't do physical. And
yeah, exactly. So once you beat the front row, then there's the back row, and every single turn there's this magic engine, and this magic engine just emits like 200 MP worth of magic to all heroes, all enemies, which means you can go hog wild on the magic, and it's no big deal.
Yeah, which is gameplay wise why it was there, because they're like, shit, if they were out of MP and have no mana and don't have relax equipped, they literally can't do this battle.
Yeah, so it's pretty much a can't lose fight, you know. But here's the thing: it's also a plot thing, because as soon as you destroy the magic engine, the train stops.
Yeah, it's like the actual magic engine.
So that thing was powering the train, but apparently just because magic is just magic energy. Because magic energy is this wild, basically unknown resource that they've just started fucking with, and they're fucking with things beyond their comprehension. Just any magic engine apparently just emits magic points in all directions, which seems dangerous. You know, especially given the upcoming the comparison of Grandstaffs to nukes. It's like, this is like a small nuclear-powered submarine. Oh, also, it leaks radiation.
Yeah.
To everybody around it. It's like, this thing leaks magical radiation constantly. Anyway, I found it very cute.
It's not terrible at all. I'm sure it's fine. Don't worry about it.
It's just giving you extra MP, and it's probably not also going to cause mutations down the road.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Everything's
The mutations are magical mutations.
Yes. Yeah, who cares if you have an extra arm if that arm can cast spells?
No, everyone's so into the idea of magic, they're like, cool, I got another arm.
But the third wave is a train that tries to be a boss, but he isn't as strong as a boss. He's just as annoying as one.
Yeah, it's easy as hell.
He'll just throw up a barrier, and he doesn't have any elemental weaknesses. So when he throws up the physical attack barrier, you just hit him for like 7 damage with a spell for a couple of turns.
You hit him
until he goes down.
You hit him with Gamble.
Yes, Gamble would be ideal. I still have not gone back to get Gamble.
Oh, that's right, you don't have it yet. God, it's so good. Sometimes
I forgot when I had world map access to go and get it, and then I got in this fight. I'm just like, fuck, that would have been
It's going to be a while. Because sometimes it's like 50 damage. Other times it's like, you just did 1,200 fucking damage. That's half the guy's health.
Yeah, it's really cool. But after we destroy the boss, it cuts back to the dinner, where Tolton and Ming are discussing like current events and stuff. And Tolton is like, "Oh, Ura's been ravaged by pirates, and but to prove our military might, we've killed a bunch of them, and we've even captured the most dangerous pirate of all, Sed." And Seth was like, "Wait, you mean my fucking kid, Sed?" And they're like, "What'd you say?" And she's like, "Nothing. I'm not gonna get my ass thrown in jail." And so then Tolton is like, "Okay, so if we're going to exchange this information about the Grand Staff, let's do. We're going to do it in Kent. Let's make sure that the security there is really good." And King of Ghotza is like, "Yeah, don't worry. It's awesome. We have our people there because you killed all of their people in the opening cutscene. So they needed our help, and we're good people, or we try to be." And while they're talking about all this, Ming is like, "What's this? What's this shit about trading information about the Grand Staff?" And the king is like, "Oh, yeah, sorry, I forgot to tell you. We're going to make our own, because the answer to this is a dangerous nuke that's going to blow up the whole world is if we have our nukes, then they won't nuke us because we can nuke them back." This definitely has gone good for many, many real-world situations before.
Oh, yeah. It's a flawless plan.
Yeah.
And especially because it's a Cold War that hinges on the fact that the most evil guy in the game won't be evil. So
that's the thing. They're like, okay, we're not smart enough to argue against the logic of mutually assured destruction because we just heard about this and we're not political theorists. But on the other hand, the guy suggesting it is an evil sorcerer.
Yeah, that we just said 5 seconds ago. He's an evil sorcerer. He's trying to take over the world. Don't do anything that he says in regards to Grand Staff.
Yeah, and then the Ghotza King is like, okay, I hear you. I see you. Counterpoint: we really want to have a Grand Staff.
Yeah, and it sucks. So they try to argue against it, but it gets them nowhere. I skimmed over the coin that they found earlier, Chaim and Sarah. It has a basically Latin. It doesn't go into what it is, but an old saying on it that means like love will protect against all or something. And so when they get to this thing, like, how could you do that? He hands the coin and he's like, I do this out of love for my country. And Ming's like, that's not how love works. That's not how the Force works. You can't just do that.
Nukes aren't an emotion, numbnuts.
Yeah. And so then we cut over to Ura, of all places, and my brain is throwing up question marks like that one meme. And then we see Grandstaff get completed, and it flies all the way from the Sea of Boughs to the courtyard of Ura Castle and just lands there. And then we see Gongora
evil laugh,
evil laugh, like his staff just showed up. So then he stops moving, and your controller starts working, and you get to play as Gongora.
Oh shit! Really?
It was wild,
and
I was
point,
like,
Sam's freaking out because he's thinking, "Oh God, is Gongora going to end up being a party member?" Actually, but as you suspected, it's a fake out.
Yeah, it's a fake out.
How do you know it was a fake out?
Because I pressed triangle. It's not triangle. It's whatever the top button is. I can never remember. Triangle to open my
it's
open
triangle,
my
not
menu.
triangle. Actually, it's triangle.
It's Y on that one. Every controller that has AVXY puts them in different places, so I can never remember what button's what. But so I pressed Y to open my menu, and it didn't do anything. So with Tolton, I could check my menu. With Cook, I could check my menu. Since I couldn't with Gongora, I'm like, they didn't worry about giving him stats.
Yeah,
he's not real.
It's a flex. Don't worry.
Yeah. So I was like, thank God. I was worried about how that, like, because it's literally setting him up to be like super space, extra dimensional, crazy Cold War Hitler right now. And I'm like, there's no redemption arc I will accept for him to join my party. Like the one that everyone knows about in JRPG history of that redemption arc. I buy that because you spend half the game exploring his redemption arc. This one, no way in the last disc would there be any reason for him to join the party.
No fucking way. Eli, we're not saying what it is, so sorry.
Yeah,
we wouldn't want to spoil it.
Because it's really, the one that we're talking about is really good, and it's a game where we really want to play on the podcast.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, that's why I'm not saying it. What was I gonna say though? Redemption arc, characters. Oh, it did make me interested in the idea though of an RPG where like you alternate like party switching, like FF6 this FF9 style for like the whole game, and just one of your parties is just the villain.
That would be cool.
And you're just bad, and that's how it is. And like, it's not like a clever redemption arc. It's just like, no, you part of the game you play as the villain, and you do villainous things, and you just play the story out. You know, toy with really like cool. Player character identification and stuff. It'd be neat.
Yeah, it would be really neat.
Yeah.
So, as Gongora, I try to explore, and there's nothing to do. I was like, I want Gongora to find a slot seed and pass it through the ether to Kyan and Sarah.
Yeah, he finds a skill seed, and then Kyan all of a sudden is like, I feel like my bag just got a little bit heavier.
But so you go down to this big podium, and you give a speech that, so like it was at this part where like it had been cutscenes for a hot minute, so I turned my TV volume up and I went to use the restroom right next door, just listening. And then he starts talking in his speech, and he's like, "Yeah, King Tolton is dead, and it's all Ghotza's fault, and blah 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 blah." I'm like, "Wait, what did I fucking miss?" Because like I had walked away when there was some banter with like Seth and Jansen going on at the end of the thing, and I'm like, "Yeah, it's banter. It's not important." And I'm like, "Wait, did Seth like stab Tolton or something while I wasn't looking? Like, what happened?" But no, he's just talking out of his ass, and he's just like, "Yeah, Tolton's dead, so I'm going to be king now. I don't have any reason to be king. There's no, but as we proved earlier, I can just say that I'm king now."
Tolton got assassinated, and also before he got assassinated, he told me that if he got assassinated, I'd be king. Maybe the extreme naivete of everyone in this game's world is, maybe it's actually intentional. Maybe it's a theme. Maybe it's like, this world is new to the whole industrialization thing. They're new to the whole fascist dictatorship thing. If someone comes, they're all just tiny idiot babies. If someone comes along and says, "Hey, the king's dead and I'm king now," they're all like, "Sounds legit. Okay." Well, you don't know why you would lie about this.
I think you might actually be onto something, because the game, obviously this part of the game is about the Cold War. And it's about not learning things from the past. The people who know stuff from the past have, like, all of the dreams that Chaim has are crazy different from what the world is, and nobody remembers them, even though 1,000 years ago wasn't like that fucking long. Like, of the last 1,000 years, like, the Oxford College has been there for all of it, type thing. Yeah. Like we can look back and be like, "Oh, the Dark Ages fucking sucked. Let's not do Dark Ages stuff again." But here they don't have enough writing or whatever. So like the things we remember, like the theme of many of Chaim's dreams are like he goes back to this place over and over again, and like even in the thousand years, the like things that were true just became myth and legend by the time that Chaim came back to visit again hundreds of years later. And it's like that shit doesn't happen. So maybe these people don't learn from their mistakes. They don't think critically about the past.
The theme of the stories is definitely what makes the stories so. We'll talk about the stories later, because I still haven't read a single one of them. I have read all of them in the past, just not this playthrough. The theme of the story is really like, one story is good, 2 stories are good, 3 stories is good, but once you read all of them, they're really good because you realize they're all just the same. And I mean that in a good way, not a bad way. It's like, humanity is the same everywhere and every time. Humans have the same problems everywhere. We're always doing the same shit. You know, the human heart is a constant, basically. But also we're all idiot babies and we never learn. And also, I think this game is largely, even though it's got a Cold War allegory, it also very much is just about the advent of modernism, right? And the way that it changes society. So yeah, I think it's just like, these are all naive babies who have been stuck in a medieval times loop for the last 1,000 years because nothing ever grows or changes. And as soon as something actually does start to grow and change, they don't know what to do. And if an evil wizard says that he's king now, everyone thinks that sounds great.
It's really cool. Like, this game, like when... also, shout out to Vimk.
Oh yeah, hi new friend.
Hi new friend. They've been really active. So they mentioned that Lost Odyssey was a JRPG, and like I kind of get it because it feels like a PS1 Final Fantasy game, but also it's not Star Wars, and that's a lot for JRPG politics, for it not to be Star Wars. And it really does feel like it's saying something more than just being a story about something. Yeah. Which is really cool. I really am digging this game. But, so he says that Tolton is dead, and it's all Ghotza's fault. He was assassinated. I'm king now, and my first idea as king is I'm going to nuke the shit out of Ghotza. And we're like, okay, cool. And so then it gives you control of Gongora again to go and do a thing. And I'm like, make him jump off this balcony. Like, if I'm controlling him, I want him to die, but we don't get to do that. we instead go to the top of Grandstaff, and that we've brought all the best magicians in the land together. And Gongora's like, to prove your loyalty to me, don't defend yourself. I'm going to kill every one of you with magic. And so you then get put into a fake boss battle where you play as Gongora, and you cast all 7 of your spells at these people, and they
7 spells for 7 wizards. My favorite musical.
Yep. Yes. And all the wizards die, but the last one, because you think it's like, I'm going to find the person that can survive all of my magic. That's who I want to work with me. And so you get to the last one, and he throws up a barrier, and he's like, "What can us dying do to help you or whatever?" And so Gongora is just like, "You fucking threw up a barrier. I'm gonna kill you." So then, when everyone dies, he then summons them all back to life as like lifeless husks that he even says have no soul and no attachment. And he's like, "You work for me now, and you're gonna go and fucking kill the immortals." And they're like, "Cool." And he also mimics what Kayam said, which we now know. Like, at first I thought it was like, oh, it's a cool like reference to earlier, but no, it's I thought Gooch was referencing himself earlier, and I mean technically he still is, but it's also Gongora could see Kayam say this before, and so now he's like, because the magicians are like, but aren't they immortal? And Gongora's like, I've got all the time in the world. And it's really good.
Oh, and notably, the one that threw up the barrier, he does get revived, but then Gongora's like, actually, I'm going to kill you. So then he kills him again.
Yeah. It was good as shit. So
he's bad.
He's bad.
Yeah, it's weird. I never would have thought of that. I never even considered that he might be bad.
Also, Maddie, I want to thank you for sending me on a wild goose chase when it first started, because it's obvious that Gongora's been bad since the jump. I've never thought
it's been 100% obvious. You were all like, oh, maybe so and so's the bad guy, and I was like, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, but I only thought that because you were like, so what do you think? Do you think Gongora? Who do you think's the bad guy? Do you think it's Gongora? Do you think it's Roxanne? And I'm like, well, shit, it's obvious that it's Gongora. She would only be asking me this if it was not obvious. And so I was bending over backwards on ways that Roxanne could be the bad guy, but no.
Oh, I didn't even mean to do that. I was just mimicking the way I feel when I play any game, which is like, this person's obviously the bad guy, but maybe there's going to be a twist and they won't be, you know?
Yeah. I realized like what you meant by it in the postscript, but at the time I was like, oh, she's just trying to gauge my reaction and see if I can see the twist before it happens. But no twist. He's the bad guy.
The twist is that there is not a twist at all.
Yeah. Good twist.
So he then nukes the shit out of Ghotza with a big ol' ice UFO, and it like the Ghotza Navy gets hit by a meteor a la the Wool Highlands, and Ghotza City gets hit by a big ol' ice UFO, and it freezes everything. So like all of the citizens, all of the everything is frozen. Also, this week we had 2 of our first FMVs, besides the one at the very, very beginning of the game with Kayam on the train. But
like everything else here and there, but not like this level. Not super long. But
when we first met King Ghotza, we had one, which was kind of unimportant. That one could have been an engine, to be honest. But then this one with the ice UFO like crackling and doing all that stuff is an FMV, which is really, really pretty. But so then they on the train they look out and they see that everything's being frozen, and they're like, well, shit, what's happening? And they're like, Gongora is using the magic staff to blow us up. You know, the thing I told you to not let happen 5 fucking seconds ago.
We're talking about the politics train right now.
Yes, the politics train. Sorry, I forgot everyone's on a train at this moment. But and so she's like, it's the Wool Highlands all over again. Tolton starts hyperventilating, and he's like, I really don't know anything, when they were demanding answers. And Mars orders his guards to activate the contingency plan, and they're like, what's that? He's like, well, like, as a king, I have to avenge my country with military might. And they're like, no, this is the bad idea. But but then as he starts to go off on the I'm going to blow up the whole world thing, one of the Urin guards walks up to Tolton and hands him a stone, and that stone opens up a portal, and he teleports away, and Seth is like, oh, no, you don't, and jumps after him and goes through the portal with Tolton. And so then the I must have missed this part completely. So I'll just read it off the IGN guide. So one of the guards there manages to slow the flow of the ice that's creeping on like all along the walls and stuff, but it's not enough. So the ice coats the interior of the car, and Mars and his guards are suffering and turning to ice themselves, but Jansen and Ming team up like the Avengers and are holding up their magic to save themselves.
So you didn't see this part?
I didn't see that part.
Okay, well, there's an extra great part about it. I guess it's a plot part, but I'll just do it for my memorable moments later.
Okay. So, so then the oh wow, I didn't see this part either at all.
You know what? I just played last night. I'll take over.
Okay.
Does that work?
The part I was talking about was the ice crystals break onto the train, which came in Sarah riding, and Gangora appears in one of them. I didn't see that, or you didn't hear that at all.
You must be in the bathroom or having a child.
I think this is where the bathroom came in. But.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah. So actually, I won't do memorable moments. Actually, what happens is, so they're all like fucked up. Everyone's freezing to death. But then Sarah at the last second, or not Sarah, Ming at the last second busts like a little orb of protection around herself, and then she puts one around Jansen as well. And then they merge their orbs, and you can see both of them are actually doing magic. And they're both like, oh, I don't know how much longer I can hold on. There's a lot of energy to withstand this cold. And then I forget the exact line, but Jansen says a really cute, really sexy line here where she's like, this ice might seal our fate. And he's like, oh, how about we seal it with a kiss? And here's the thing. They don't kiss, but like it extremely works. Like
nice.
They are getting very cozy right now.
Yeah.
They are in a ball of warmth, surrounded by coldness, and she has given him eyes, and he has given her eyes. It's really sweet.
Yeah,
there also was a bit earlier where after Jansen and Seth do good cop bad cop, where Ming gets a little jealous of Seth, and it was like definitely.
And then Ming mentioned to Jansen, he's like, "No, not me and Seth." And the reason he's saying that is because obviously I like you, Ming. But anyway, so then it just fades to black. So those heroes, where we leave them off this week, it's just they're
question mark.
They're in an ice train with magic protecting themselves, and maybe they're gonna die. That's how we leave them. So then we switch to Kaim and Co. Yeah, so they're in a train, and a bunch of ice crystals show up, and the ice crystals hit the back of the train, and then one of the ice crystals makes like a TV screen, and Gongora is just like, "Mwahaha, fuck you," basically. And then Kaim, extremely coolly, just fucking punches the ice and shatters it, and he punches like directly towards the screen. So he just does this just beautiful form. Just like, I love how much punching he does, considering he has a sword. And the next scene, him and Sarah are like, we got to fight the monsters, and they both like put up their dukes. And I'm like, you have swords. Anyway, so he punches the ice. That's it. It's nothing. It was just taunting. Okay. And then they're like, we got to get to the front of this train because Sakaguchi loves making dungeons where you have to get to the front of a train.
Well, actually, that's after the part that I did see. So a huge, large glacier falls on the tracks, and we're headed right for it to get smooshed by the glacier. So they climb to the top of it, and they finally have caught up to the kids' train, and they're like, we got to jump train to train. And Sarah's a little like, I'm a mage. I am not the athletic type. You're the one that can run at 1,000 miles an hour. I can't do this. And he's like, don't worry, baby, I got you. And so they jump at the last second as their train gets smooshed by the glacier, and then they land in the train dungeon.
You're right. I forgot the train dungeon is the second train, not the first train. You're right.
Yeah, so they rush to the front. There's a bunch of small battles. There's a scene that's there's a set piece that's designed to make people like me get anxiety because the ice is creeping up to freeze the train as it's going. But there is a puzzle in which you push blocks around to get access to a bunch of items that are missable because obviously this train is not going to be there. One of those items is a slot seed, and so I'm like, I can't not get all of these glowing items. And so I game over like 3 times trying to figure out the fastest way to do everything because you have such a short time limit, and gave me anxiety, but I loved it.
Yeah.
But,
also, extremely cool use of the Unreal Engine. In real time, like the ice is creeping, and the like game, the area's textures are being like replaced by like icy freeziness. It's really cool.
Yeah, so we make it to the front of the train, and we see the kids, and the kids are doing their own protection bubble, and is real cute. And so we're like, okay, well, kids, don't worry, we're here, we got you. We can stop the train somehow, but we can't do it. So the ice UFO from before zaps all of them with magic energy, and it's hurting even the immortals. And Sarah's like, I think I might actually die from this, and it's really fucking crazy. So Sarah turns to Kaim and is like, we have to protect the kids. And the Kaim's like, I'm fucking dying here. Like, what do I do? So she uses her magic power to like seal off their half of the train and cut the train in half as she does it, and sends them off protected as their train smashes into the ice UFO and blows up, and it's sad. And then technically we couldn't save after that fade to black, so we got to see a little bit of Seth and Tolton in Ura, but that's definitely the part of the next episode, so we'll save that for next week.
It would have made sense for there to be a Luna here, so we'll pretend like there was a Luna here.
Yeah. So if you're playing along, you know a little bit of what happens, but we will recap it for next week. But let's move on to our memorable moments. I only got like 1 or 2 for this week.
Yeah,
so.
I just got a couple. I like one.
All right. So, Eli, you wrote down yours, so give us the Jansen report.
Okay. Today on the Jansen report. So when they're getting up to the Emperor, or the quote-unquote Emperor, they're met by these 2, like, weird robot potbelly guards outside, and they're getting interrogated. And Jansen says, I'm not taking a cruise anymore. You know, they always never tell you all the fine print stuff. You know, in regards to the whole, like, being on the boat and then the boat sank thing. So I thought that was good.
It was really good.
And then he follows up a little later with, odd things have been happening in Numara. You know, people losing their clothes and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And then so Ming is getting questioned about whether or not she's actually the Queen of Numara, and she's like, oh no, I just have to show the glowing seal. And both Seth and Jansen seem to think that she's about to whip out her baps.
Yep.
Which is great. So
did y'all notice that they totally modeled her boob vein?
They what?
What?
There's like a big old like visible like blue vein on her boobs.
Oh,
Did
no, I
not
don't,
notice that.
Detailed boobs.
I don't stare. I'm polite.
I am a gentleman.
Well, I'm gay, so
I'm a gentleman, unlike Jansen, who was definitely staring at her titties.
Yeah.
Like, as they're heading in, Ming's just like, "Oh, that was for everyone's sake. It was necessary to show that seal." And Jansen's like, "Yeah, that was nice."
Like, remember that time? And they're like, yeah, it happened 30 seconds ago, dude.
And then I can't remember. I think this was when they were talking to either the fake king or the real king, one of the kings. And I can't remember who it was in regards to, but Jansen says, "I mean, we could have killed his family, but that's messy and takes too long."
Yeah, so that was because that was one of mine. That was when they were leaving and they were playing good cop, bad cop.
Oh,
and he
yes.
was like, "Wait, were y'all just playing good cop, bad cop?" And they were like, "Yeah, like we planned the whole thing. I mean, we could have just killed his family, but that would have taken too long."
Yeah, which I like his reasoning. It's solid, very sound. So that's what I've got for the Jansen report.
Hell yeah.
Nice. I only have one because both of mine were on the Jansen report. Both my others were on the Jansen report. But so this is technically forward a little bit. So when you're playing as Seth and Tolton, you have to fight a couple guards. And Tolton's victory stance is not like a flex where he puts his sword up on his shoulder or anything like anybody else's. He breathes a sigh of relief because he was scared out of his wits, and it's fucking amazing. He like doubles over holding his chest like, "Oh, thank God, we won." And I love it so much.
That's fantastic.
What about you, Madeline?
I just have 3 quick ones. So the first one is that, here's what I did from this week. I got a haircut. I look super hot now. Anyway, I did that because my haircut selfie was next to my memorable moments picture.
Nice.
That reminded me of what happened this week. Anyway, I have 3 quick ones. One is that there's a whole lot of really cool world building in Ghotza that I won't go into in the interest of time. But one thing that they actually touch on quite a bit is that they're dealing with everyone's worried about the pressures of job automation, which is too real. People are like, Ghotza may be a superpower, but the city is getting worse and worse, and the magic engines have taken all of our jobs. So that's cool. And then, like I said, there's a lot of backstory.
Universal basic income, Bernie 2020.
Exactly. Wait, I agree with one of those things. Anyway, in addition to that, the room where you talk to the king later, I went there before I talked to the king, didn't realize I was going to talk to the king, and I took a bunch of pictures. It's just a beautiful room. There's a lot of great architecture in this game and really good in this town and good lighting and shit. Everything's very ornate and cool as fuck. And then the next thing, I think this is the final thing that I have, is the part of the game where they say the theme of the game. You know how that happens sometimes? When they're talking to the king, they're about his backstory. They're all like, "Oh, you learned about the meaning of life." And then they say, "You fear for the things that you try to protect. And it's a fear that you become accustomed to." And that's a pretty good line. But then after that is an even better line, which is... Here it is. Sarah says the important thing is knowing that nothing lasts forever, because knowing that something isn't eternal is what makes it precious. And spoiler alert, that's the theme of the game. It makes it things being not eternal is also makes something worth fighting for, and what matters is love and the ability to fight for what you love. Yeah, so that's that, and that's why the Immortals decided that saving some non-immortal children was more important than their immortal asses.
Yep. And it was real good.
Also, at the end of the game, we now have 4 different parties.
Yeah,
Which is
loving
insane.
Like, I can guarantee you that that Sakaguchi was sitting around and was like, all right, so I think the most literary Final Fantasy that I made was 6. And one of the cool parts is when we split the party. What if we do that, but we don't stop, and we do it for 4, and we do it a lot. Let's do that.
They keep don't stopping.
Yep, they keep don't stopping. But yeah, that will do it for the Lost Odyssey portion of the week. I will now enter the what are we fucking playing next, folks? Part of this week. So going live later today, recording not today when you hear this because I have no idea when I'll edit it. But going live later today is going to be the voting for our next block of games. Which, spoiler alert, I won't be here for. It's baby time when Lost Odyssey is over, and so I will be taking the next.
Have himself a baby.
I will be taking the next 2 entire games off, so hopefully I remember how to podcast when it's all over. But so the next 2 games that you guys get to vote on is either Danganronpa 1, which is a anime detective visual novel, or Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney for the Nintendo DS et al.
Which is also anime detective visual novel.
Yes, there you go. So that's the theme. It's very on the nose.
RPG book club.
Yeah, these games are often spoken about in the same exact sentence, where people are like, "Oh, I love visual novels, but ones with more gameplay, like Phoenix Wright and Danganronpa." So there you go.
Yes.
But, those would be great. I've already played Danganronpa. So I will not be mad if you guys pick that one. But also, if y'all do pick Ace Attorney, it's a fucking visual novel. I can probably play Ace Attorney and take care of a baby. So I'll probably do that and still listen along and be a listener instead of a host.
Hell yeah.
Which will be fun.
Quick pitch. They're both brilliant. Danganronpa is really serious and hog wild and dramatic anime nonsense. Also very powerful and moving. Phoenix Wright is a lot more fun and goofy, but also has extremely good writing and endearing characters. But it's more like, oh, I love it, instead of like, oh my fucking god. You know what I mean? So that's the difference.
Yeah. So vote with your Ko-Fi account and let us know which one you want us to play, which means we're like 4 weeks out from finishing this bad boy, tops, which is exciting, but that also means that baby time is like 4 weeks away. And like we did a count, and the day we're probably going to get induced is at 37 weeks, which was 10 weeks away, like beginning of this week. And so yeah,
tell us what's the date on that? What should we be expecting?
So looking on the calendar, I believe 37. So 36 weeks is when we had Scarlet. And so that would be the 27th of December.
I thought you were going to say the 37th of the month, and I was
Sam, that's not how time works.
So 36 weeks would be the 27th of December. 37 weeks, which is full term, which is when we're planning on just having the baby, because this baby is big. Its head is in the 95th percentile.
Damn.
And its body is not. It is a big old head ass baby. And so Summer's like, when you get to full term, the baby then grows a pound a week. And she's like, I do not want 3 extra pounds of head to be birthed. So 37 weeks would be the 3rd of January. Its due date is all the way at the end of January, but there's no way in hell we're gonna last that long. So
okay, right around January then.
Yep, that'll be when we have a baby, and you guys can expect twice the baby noises. It'll be like classic RPG Book Club all over again.
Oh my god, it's gonna be so much baby. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, it's gonna be in stereo. I mean, I rendered the tracks down to mono in the end anyway, so it won't actually be in stereo. But
wow,
right baby, left baby.
just pull back the curtain, why don't you, Sam?
Yeah, it makes your files real small. So if you're trying to do a podcast, here's a tip: lower your bitrate to 32,000 instead of 44,000, and then put it in mono at 64, and then you can do a lot of episodes per month on a cheap ass plan. So that's how we do it. If you like what you hear, you can check us out online at www.rpgbook.club, which has links to our social medias, a link to our Discord, and a link to our Ko-Fi where you can go to vote on that next game. I just realized I still have not written a JRPG canon article for this month, so I'll probably do that tonight. But yes, you can get that too. Otherwise, we'll just see you next week where we finish Disc 3.
Sounds good.
Yep, saving at Disc 2 had a Luna, so probably this one will too.
Yeah.
I jumped the gun on saying goodbye.
Sorry. I just wanted to be clear for the listeners. Sorry.
Most games that switch discs have to have Lunas at the disc.
Yeah.
Just in case something goes wrong.
True.
For RPG Book Club, I have been Sam Altman.
I've been Elias Sailor Eli Warren.
I'm Maddie.
Bye, folks.
Bye, bitches.